Several jobs on the line, due in part to the grain market. We'll explain what's happening at a combine factory in Grand Island. Also, this week, a big decision made when it comes to how much money Nebraska will have to pay up after a water dispute between Nebraska and Kansas. Also, this last week, FFA week, and we put them in the spotlight. You're watching NTV's Grow. Many workers soon out of a job. NTV's Megan Johnson takes a look at what's happening at the Case New Holland combine plant in Grand Island.
The company says the job loss is thanks to market conditions. A spokesperson sent us a written statement saying 136 full-time employees will be let go. The indefinite layoffs will begin this spring, starting sometime in May and done by July. This isn't the first time recently Case New Holland laid off people at this plant. In August, more than 170 full-time employees and nearly 70 third-party agency workers lost their jobs because of the same reasoning. Company officials say there just isn't as much demand for the combines and self-propelled windrowers the Grand Island plant makes. National data seems to agree. According to the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, combine sales have dropped in the past year. They say 47% fewer sold across the country last month as compared to January of 2014.
Investors in a proposed beef processing plant say they are close to finding a location. Investors say they met with officials from Gearing and Bridgeport to discuss the cities as potential sites for the processing plant. They expect to have a workforce of about 150. 500 head of cattle will be processed per day. About 40% of the beef would be exported to Asian markets. The rest would be sold domestically. The Supreme Court hands down a decision when it comes to the long dispute over water between Nebraska and Kansas along the Republican River. The Supreme Court ruled Nebraska should pay $3.7 million in damages to Kansas. Justices also agreed with the recommendations. Nebraska should pay $1.8 million on top of actual damages for using more than its legal share of the water in 2005 and 2006. Since 1999, Kansas has complained Nebraska used more than its fair share of water from the river. That decision is considered a success for Nebraska. Governor Pete Ricketts says the $5.5 million payment to Kansas is significantly less than the $80 million originally asked for. He says, quote, "I'm pleased to see that the court has made a reasonable decision. I look forward to working with the governors of Kansas and Colorado to move forward." With 157 chapters, FFA is at an all-time high now here in Nebraska, but that also comes along with the need for teachers. Here's more.
Because we're just a 2-year chapter, we just started up.
FFA seems like a natural fit in a town like Arcadia, where it seems everyone's connected to agriculture.
Almost anyone in the town has family that works on a farm, lives on a farm, and I mean, we're all just really involved in agriculture.
But FFA is more than an after-school program. It's integrated into the curriculum with classes that cover soil and animal science, but also natural resources and biotechnology. What started as the Future Farmers of America is now officially just FFA and can lead to a number of careers on and off the farm.
These students can, the world's at their feet if they choose to do so.
Robert Sweat is a veteran teacher, but new to Arcadia.
A couple years ago, they had a job opening there, but no one applied for it, and they didn't get an ag teacher then. And I was looking for a school a couple years ago, and there's some awful good kids at Arcadia. So to me, that's what school's about.
Wood River, Donovan Trumbull, and Ogallala all have openings for ag teachers as they start new programs. Plus, some established FFA schools are adding additional teachers to meet the demand. Student interest is at an all-time high in Nebraska. At the same time, the average American farmer is 55, and that age continues to climb.
Since they're all getting older, they want to get us involved and get the younger generation because we're going to be the next ones coming up to start running this.
Now, it was FFA week this past week, and a lot of students were putting FFA into the spotlight. One way, drive a tractor to school. Here's more from NTV's Alyssa Willard.
felt pretty excited. Just enjoyment, just coming in with the tractor.
Tractors are normal around here.
They go a little slower than the average vehicle. You got to turn your flashers on, and you got to really watch out for people.
Pull off to the side of the road when somebody's trying to pass you or you meet somebody.
Yeah,
you'll hit them with the dual.
Yeah, smoking with the dual. I vacuumed mine out, but I mean, that ain't a big deal.
Washed them, cleaned them up, unhooked them from
Make
the
them
planer.
look pretty. I had to put a front wheel on mine over there.
Who's got the biggest and the best?
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights. Yeah, it's something different.
A new report shows that the value of crops in Kansas plummeted last year. That drop was down to $6.51 billion. The nation's Agricultural Statistics Service said the drop has been steady for the past 2 years. A factor may have been the drought last year that decimated the state's winter wheat crop before late spring and summer rains salvaged the fall harvesting crops. Grain prices have also fallen in the past couple years, making the remaining crop worth less. Forbes recently listed farming as one of the top 10 deadliest industries. Now, farming machinery has a lot to do with it. Grain bins also can pose a threat. NTV's Tanner Kaler takes a look at how some people are really raising the awareness and wanting you to do what you can to be safe while on the farm.
They dot the Nebraska countryside, seemingly harmless grain storage bins, but in a second, they can become a death trap. With the wrong step, a person can be completely buried in grain within seconds.
At the end of the day, the goal is to get home to your family and friends.
The dangers are not lost on Lance Atwater. For this young farmer, he knows what can happen if he's not careful around the machinery.
If we're doing something where we're having to be inside the bin, we usually try to have another person around just in case something would happen.
And experts agree that's a good idea. There have been 900 cases of grain engulfment in the past 50 years. 62% have ended in death.
We've had that training, and then what goes along with grain bin extrication, or what we call grain bin extrication of victims.
Kearney's volunteer fire department has one special piece of equipment they use to get people out. This aluminum tube.
And you just start putting it down around the victim. Then you start to either use your hands or a little bucket or a shovel, and you get the grain out from on the inside, and then it keeps that from forcing that pressure on them.
Which is important because pressure on the chest can lead to suffocation.
We train on it every year, several times a year. We were already ready for that part of it.
Crews add entering full grain bins should only happen when absolutely necessary. For Atwater, he says he takes safety seriously.
Anything we do in farming is dangerous, but it also can be a safe occupation.
Kearney's volunteer fire chief says they haven't had a lot of engulfment cases in the area, which he's thankful for. He credits that to farmers being more cautious and increase awareness about the dangers.
Now, while we mentioned this last week was FFA week, and we're going to catch up with some FFA students and find out what they are doing to really put agriculture into the spotlight. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break.